What's going on, guys? This is Kaishra. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. So in this video we're going to cover the top 5 best decks post July 2024 ban list. So we recently had our new ban list last Saturday or Sunday if I'm not mistaken, no? So we are going to cater these decks, and these decks which I believe are the best right now in post July format. So the theme of our video will be the flames that never die. So it is very congruent to this theme that some of the decks here are kinda familiar to us because they have still clinging on or holding on their status as one of the best decks. And moving on, we have an overview of the July 2024 OCG metagame preview. So Animation Chronicle was introduced. This is the newest set in our OCG and also a new and fresh format coming from the July ban list. So we are going to cater our decks here for the July ban list and also a wide open format. I really believe that the format right now is very wide open. Many decks could still, prove their chance and snatch the slots for these decks and prove that they are a very trustworthy and reliable deck. And also tons of reprint from tactical try decks that made the game more affordable. So mainly from the Eldritch and Live Twin, Evil Twin, and also Cyber Dragon. Tactical try structure decks made the game more affordable for newbies, returnees, and budget players. So they would love the opportunity to buy those staples in a very budget manner right now. So yeah, moving on our top 5, we do have 10 by Dragon on our top 5. They have been falling off on this tier because they used to be top 1 or top 2 on Road of the King, no? But now they are only on number 5, mainly to the fact that they have lost 2 copies of probably one of their best cards on the deck, the Sangan Summoning. So yeah, moving on. So looking on our sample deck list for 10 by Dragon, please take the deck list here provided with a grain of salt because I have made these decks and deck lists based on my deck building tendencies and understanding of the metagame. So yeah, we do have the strengths of this deck. So doesn't care about the die roll, no. 10 by Dragon doesn't care about the die roll. Whether your opponent wins 9 times in a round of tournament, they don't care. 10 by Dragon would opt to go second all of the time, and I do believe that it is a huge asset for 10 by Dragon. I really think that players should capitalize on that because you are very versatile on die rolls and you're comfortable, very comfortable going second, and also very untraditional way of winning. So like I've said, you're going second. Most of the meta decks in the current format tends to go first. So you're very different from them. You have a different kind of dance, or you have a different kind of tune to play. So I think Tenpai Dragon is the best deck to execute that right now. Mainly to the fact that they are very good going second. You can pretty much break boards, stop the opponent from playing the game with your variety of hand traps. So yeah, very solid deck on that department. And also it is easy, very easy to cater the deck within the environment. So you do have a lot of space on the main deck. You have like 25 space for non-engines on the main deck. So you could pretty much experiment and strategize your main deck towards the environment that you're going to play. If your locals does have a lot of back row, floodgate decks, you're going to mesh up the main deck with Lightning Storm, Heavy Storm, Duster, no? All of those back row removal. If your opponent is graveyard centric, you can play the Shifters, the Bestials, and the Bell and Crow. So the deck is very versatile. It's up in the air for the pilot to cater your deck depending on the local scene or environment. And also, the weaknesses of this deck is it is lesser consistent than before because we have lost two important copies of Sangan Summoning. So you are losing two of your best cards, and it is very telegraphic or predictable that you are going to suffer consistency issues just a little bit, tiny bit. And it could matter, no? On big tournaments and large scale events, the consistency is the best and most productive way of using the deck in every kind of card game. And also, it can be very fragile against hand traps. So now you only have one Sangen summoning and you are very prone to targeting effects like Veiler, Imperm, even the likes of Ghost Ogre. So you are very fragile, and Tenpai as it is already fragile from hand traps, and now you are much more vulnerable and prone to such hand traps in the format. And looking on our list, it played Droplet and the Super Poly because I really feel like that those board breakers are very suitable on a wide open format. There will be rogue decks, stun decks, and a bunch of unfamiliar decks and unknown decks. So this type of cards that will be very beneficial to you to out their problematic boards. And yeah, moving on towards our top 4, we do have pure raw snake eyes. So yeah, moving on, we do have the snake eyes. So the strengths of this deck is very notable. It is cream of the top among mid-range decks. When you think of a mid-range deck in the format right now, in the modern game, you are going to think about Snake Eyes first because they are arguably the best mid-range deck that we have seen for quite some time. They're like the modern version of Tri Brigade. They are a much more superior version of mid-range deck. And also the deck is very consistent and the learning curve is easy. You could pretty much see all of the Master Duel players playing and abusing Tenpai, or rather Snake Eyes, on their ranking ladder. So many people are be very at ease on learning the deck, and also they are not going to worry too much on their consistency because this deck is very consistent. And also more than half of the deck is non-engine. So you could already see on our list here, we do have triple DD Crow, triple Chicken Game, 1 Talent, 2 Whaler. So yeah, half of your deck is non-engine, and those cards will be very helpful to cater your deck around the format and also improve your consistency and resiliency on this build. And also, the weaknesses of this deck is kinda familiar as well, no? Droll and Nibiru can be busters against the deck. Those two cards are very detrimental against the Snake Eyes. Once you get drolled from your Chicken Game, your Bonfire, it will be very tough for you to execute your game plan. And also Nibiru, which is very deranging for this deck. It can definitely hurt the Snake Eyes line of play. And you are now only have one Ash, Snake Eyes Ash on the deck. So your grind game is very, very terrible on this occasion. And also you are playing a lesser version of Snake Eyes at the moment. So at the moment, we all knew how impactful the Finsmith engine is in our OCG, and this Snake Eyes is not the best right now in terms of being the best Snake Eyes in the format. So if you wanna play the best Snake Eyes version, you could integrate the Finsmith into the deck. But the upside of this is you have a more spacious main deck and also more techy options to incorporate into the deck. And yeah, moving on, we have the third top 3 on our list. We have the better version of Snake Eyes. We have Snake Eyes Finsmith. So yeah, arguably one of the most successful decks in the current format. And also Snake Eyes Finsmith is also phenomenal on huge tournaments, WCQ, YCSJ, and most of the tournaments are topped with Snake Eyes Finsmith. And the strengths of this deck is none other than the consistency, of course. One of the most consistent decks that we're going to see right now, and it is probably the best now in terms of consistency. You have a lot of one card combos, your engines could start your plays pretty much on every levels, and also your deck is very explosive with a spacious main deck. So like the Snake Eyes, you still have a lot of room on the main deck, like the DD Crow, the Effect Veiler, and also the Imperms, and yeah, I think those can be very pivotal on making your mid-range type of explosive deck like the Snake Eyes Finsmith. This is very odd for a mid-range deck to be this explosive and yet still have rooms for a lot of hand traps. And also already proven to be a serial winner. So like I've said earlier, it has won multiple tournaments already. Big locals, big tournaments, WCQs. It is already proven by that. And I do believe that one Snake Eyes Ash and one Bonfire wouldn't make too much difference on this deck. It is still very consistent and very powerful. Not just as powerful as before and as consistent as before. And also the weakness of this deck is it suffered, of course, it suffered losses from the ban list. They have lost one Ash and copies of Bonfire. And also, this deck is too graveyard reliant. So you are going to rely too much on your graveyard. The Finsmith will be very integral on your graveyard shenanigans with the Luri going to the graveyard. You're going to have the Finsmith on the graveyard and also the Snake Eyes cards, of course, will be into the graveyard with the Promethean access. So you're very prone to Shifter, Diddy Crow, and Bell. So yeah, your graveyard setup could be at problem or at risk right now. And moving towards our number 2 on our list, we do have the Rescue Ace, Sinful Spoils, Finsmith. So Rescue Ace has been here in the metagame since last year, since May 2023, and they are still here right now. And it's very hard to stop this deck, especially engines and plethora of engines will support the deck and make it viable enough to compete. And it is already top 2 in our list right now. Imagine that. Rescues have been falling off before, but with the help of Finsmith, they are now back at the top. And yeah, moving on our sample deck list for Rescue Ace, we do have the Rescue Ace Sinful Swells Finsmith. The strength of this deck is very obvious. It is a juggernaut in terms of resiliency. There's not many decks that could stop this Rescue Ace. Right now, with the help of Finsmith, Sinful Spoils, and the Rescue Ace engine itself, it's very hard to stop this deck. Once they go into the route of Sinful Spoils, you could stop them, but they do have the Finsmith on their hand, and they could still go into something like Beatrice to dump their important cards and procure their place. It's very hard to stop this deck, to be honest. And also, on top of that, Finsmith saved the Rescue Ace. And like I've said earlier, Rescue Ace has been nowhere to be found before the info, or yeah, the Finsmith cards. So now they are back once again at the top, and it is arguably the second best deck. Probably can be first, no, depending on how the format will unfold this July. But yeah, safe to say that it's number 2 in our list right now. And also, it has built-in back row game. So Rescue Ace has the back row game from the Turbulence set for pass. And it's very hard to answer that, considering that your Feather Duster, your Heavy Storm was on your side deck, and also your Cosmic Cyclones are nowhere to be found on the main deck. So it's very hard to answer the back row shenanigans of Rescue Ace, and it will definitely be a huge asset for Rescue Ace moving forward, because they are going to be very strong on game 1. And also, the weakness of this deck is they may struggle, no? Post side decking when your opponent does side in the sideboards. The Lightning Storm, the Duster, the Evenly Match. Those can be very tragic for your setup, because those cards can wipe your back row and also your board. Your Little Knight couldn't do anything about that, and your only saving grace would be the Omni Negate from the Finsmith. But yeah, it will definitely rattle your setup. And also, it lacks room for non-engines. You could tell on our deck list here that Rescue Ace doesn't have too many spot for tech cards and staples. In the main deck, we only have one Whaler, and I just compromise our consistency and yeah, potential to answer the hand traps with a double talent. So yeah, it's very hard to fit in cards here in the main deck, and the side deck is too direct as well towards the board breaker cards, because you can be lacking in board breaking capability. So we are going to run a lot of board wipes like Evenly, Lightning Storm, and Duster. And moving on towards our top 1 in our list, it is none other than Yubel Finsmith, the recorded best deck in previous Road of the King reports, and the data shows it all, no? It doesn't even compare right now on the format, and they didn't get any touch from the ban list, and they are looking to be very promising on our July, and it will eventually become the best deck of the format right now. But yeah, it will be up in the air for the pilots to decide that. But moving on our sample deck list, we have the Yubel Finsmith, the current kings of the new format. So it's been like two formats report from Road of the King, and they have concluded that Yubel is arguably the top on the previous results, and also the best Finsmith deck at the moment. So we do have Rescue Ace Finsmith, Snake Eyes Finsmith, bunch of Finsmith decks like Unchained and Chimera Finsmiths, but they don't contest. They don't contest the Yubel right now, and it's very good to see an anime deck like Yubel rise at the top with the help of Finsmith engine, and also it has a very good matchup spread on the current format right now. It even counters the Tenpai Dragon, which is a very tricky deck to deal against, no? And lots of meta decks will suffer around the matchup of Yubel. And the notable weakness of this Yubel is the mirror match itself. It can be very draining. It's very hard to navigate the mirror match, and you are going to be very savvy or techy to outwit your opponent on the mirror match, and you will definitely study the interactions and minuscule changes of and trades on that mirror match to win that. And also, it has targets on its back, so many people are opting to side deck and tech in cards to answer the Yubel with the Didi Crow and the likes of the Bestials to answer the Luri, the Squirmer, and it will be going to be that way because it is projected to be the best deck in the format, and you are not going to stop people from playing against you, and Ghost Ogres will be there, the Bells, the Bestials, the Crows, and it will eventually be the norm for the meta game if Yubel will still continue to ramp up victories and victories over the course of July. So yeah, it sums up our top 5 best decks post July 2024 ban list. So if you have time, you can subscribe on my YouTube channel, and if you found this video informative and helpful, please do drop a like on this video. It definitely motivates me a lot. So once again, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.